Welcome back, race fans. This is Ron with Big Wizard TV. I made a little name change there from Big Wizard Racing, which is our race team, to Big Wizard TV, which is our broadcast channel out here on YouTube. Thanks for being here with us. We're here for another round of painting with patterns. This is video number 3. We're going to talk about logos and the PreMades today. I call them the PreMades. They're all those things that iRacing puts on your car for you to make it a little easier to paint and have it like a more realistic style and a realistic look. And we'll go through how to work with them and manage them and um, remove some of them so to help you out in making your own custom paints. Starting off with logos, though. First off, um, how do we get logos and where do they come from? This is your own personal paint. You're not selling this, so you can use logos you find on the internet that represent the brands and things that you like. We're going to go with Sunoco Race Fuels today for our example. We're going to go to our example car that we've been working with. I made a couple slight adjustments to it from the last time we were here. But we'll just go ahead and work with Sunoco Race Fuels. I figure we could put some Sunoco logos here on the rear quarter panel. And then we'll have to look and see where the number sits on the car, and maybe we can get something in this area here below the stripes, kind of on the B pillar here, below the B pillar. And then we'll get something on the hood. One issue we have is our car is not a Sunoco colored car, so might do a slight adjustment on that fade color we've got in there. But that is a complex layer that I built and kind of put it all in one layer. It's here in this base layer. So not really going to be easy to work with, but we could change it. Doesn't take much. We'll go through that again. Don't want to burn a lot of time on shading and working with these patterns because we already did that. So let's jump into some logos. First of all, obviously the location you're going to find them is on the internet. So I go to my favorite internet browser or whatever one I can get working that day that has the least overhead, and I search for what I'm looking for. Sunoco gasoline logo. And I go to the images tab, and here is everything we see. There's tons of them. Okay, so which one's the real one? You can tell this one is very different than this one. They look completely different. And also, there's different aspects of these two logos. Even this one here, and one that looks similar to it. Those are actually pretty close to the same. They may be exactly the same, but this one's from some other country, and it's an SVG file. But GIMP does pretty good with pulling in almost any kind of graphic file. But you're looking for a couple things when you look for logos. One, size. You want that logo as big as you possibly can get it. This logo right here is 800 by 800 pixels. But this logo is 2036 by 1334. A much larger logo. The larger logo, you can always make them smaller. But when you make them bigger when they start off small, they're not going to look so good. So if you have a really small logo to start with, like this one here is only 375 to 375, and you try to put that on the hood of your car, it's just not going to look good. It's not going to look clean. So that's one thing to watch out for. Another thing to look for is the background. You notice these all have a white background. This one's got there it goes, finally loaded, but this one has a solid white background. This, we'd have to download it to see what kind of file it is, but there's JPEG files, which always have solid backgrounds. And then always be aware of this style, where you get the background that you can see the person made a copy of the actual background. This particular example is a terrible example of a logo. Your red is not red. It's tapered red. Your background looks transparent, but it isn't, because you can see it on the preview. This one here is a transparent background because you cannot see it on the preview. You see the difference there? This one is a fake transparent background. This one is a real transparent background. Also, the colors are a lot cleaner. But the other issue is, which one's the correct logo? Not really sure. So let's go find out. Let's go look at Sunoco, when you spell it right, Race Fuels, and see if they have a website. Oh, look, Sunoco Race Fuels. So you want to go to their website and see what that logo looks like. Is it this logo with the Sunoco larger on each end? Now, maybe at one time in history it was, but today that logo is this right up here in the top corner, which is the kind of the pinkish raspberry color on the arrow with the Sunoco and the lines coming in from the edges. This is the logo that Sunoco is using for Sunoco Race Fuels. You can use whatever you want, but if you want to be accurate, get one that looks like the correct one. Sometimes you get real lucky and you go to their page and you find a really nice large logo, but not the case. So this is our logo right here, this very first picture, and it's also very big. It looks correct. The red might be slightly off, but I don't see other ones that have that red and that style. There's a Race Fuels, but it's only 450 by 450. You can see the edges are jagged, not very clean. There's one that looks like it was doctored up. That's 250 by 200, also not going to be really good on your car. So this one here at 2000 by 1300 is a good logo to use. Let's go View File, which brings it in full size, and then we're going to save this. Okay, so now we see it's a JPEG image, which is why it has the white background. I have my my location for my logos. I would suggest you find something that works for you. This is an oil for me. It's oil and gas. And you can just make it, let's see, we'll just call it Sunoco logo. And we'll stick that out in my folder. Now that I have it, and it's a good high-res image, good picture. Now that I have it, I can open it. And first I'm going to open it because I know it's a JPEG. I'm not going to open it as a layer and put it right in my document. I'm actually going to open it in itself to clear out that white background because I don't want to have to make the car white just to put the logo on it. We want clear background. So I'll show you how to make that real quick. And then we'll get the logo out there in the car. So we put this in oil. There's the Sunoco logo. It's a JPEG. We need to make it into a PNG file. So since the only thing white on here is the actual background, we'll go ahead and use our selection tool. We'll pull a good threshold, 25-ish. And you can see up here in the top, what's not selected is the logo itself. So the white part is selected. We go Edit, Clear. We forgot to do one step, so let's undo that. Most JPEG images do not have a clear layer in them. They have a background layer. So what you have to do is you have to go to the image itself. I got to find it. You go to the layer, transparency, and add the alpha channel. Okay, that's a step when you're working with JPEGs you have to do. You have to add the alpha channel. It's under image, it's under layer, transparency. So you're making this layer have a transparent layer. If I had another layer, before I did that, I would have to make that layer transparent. Each layer has to have its own transparent layer if it comes in as a JPEG without transparency. All right, so now we have everything selected that we want, the white part. We're going to clear it. And now you can see it's a transparent background. That hex pattern in the back means that's a transparent background. All right, so let's select none, see if we got any of that edge. There's a little white edge on there, so we didn't quite bleed all of it in. So we can undo the clear. We don't need this. Let's go select none. We're going to increase this a little bit, put it up around maybe 100 to get all the white. We want to get all of the white, even the white that fades into the blue. So let's select again, and then we'll edit clear. Select none. Okay, that's a little crisper. You can see here we don't have any white left on that edge. So that's pretty good. So now for this layer, actually the whole image, I'm going to go ahead and crop to content, make it a little bit smaller just to get down to the edges. But now we have a usable logo. We're ready to go. So save this out. Don't export it as a JPEG because this needs to be a PNG file. JPEGs do not have backgrounds, clear backgrounds. So You click on this down here below, there's a thing that says select by file type. Right now we're Sunoco logo.jpg. We'll go down here to select file type by extension, and this is how we're going to save it. We'll scroll down to the P's, PNG, and see it changes it up here to Sunoco logo PNG. Still in the same folder, still the same place it was. We'll export that out. Okay, and it doesn't matter that we save it or not because it is we just exported it, so we saved what we wanted. Now we're going to open it as a layer, and we're going to go find my logo. I'm going to look at my oil folder, and I'm going to find my Sunoco, but with the PNG. Open that up, gives me the transparent background. You see it's huge, which is beautiful, perfect. We're going to rotate it, spin it around. We're going to put it on the hood, so that makes it a -90. These are the tools you're going to use working with logos. You're going to use the rotation tool. You're going to use the scaling tool. Okay, and sometimes you'll use the flip tool, depending on the type of logo and how you're moving it around. But these are the tools you need. Don't worry that it's in the wrong place right now. We're going to move it. I always keep a logos folder, so we're going to take this Sunoco logo, stick it right up in the logos folder, and then it'll sit up on top of the other designs, which is why, like I talked about last time with layers, your base paints are down below, your logos are in the middle, and your PreMades and all the things you want on the car are going to sit on the top. Because the top things are going to sit on the top like a layer, because they are layers. All right, now we're going to go to the scaling tool. Scaling tool has handles on the edges and a nice, really cool, you can move me around handle in the middle. So get this thing to the size you want. You use the scaling handles on the edges. And just to see that we're in the middle of the hood, you can turn on your wire just to kind of give you an idea. You can zoom in on one of these handles and see there's this center line right there, so we're not quite there. So we pull that down to the center line, and that's the center of our logo now, in the middle of the hood. Also, you can see whether you're bleeding over the hood, because you can see the edges of the hood. So it might be a good idea to make this a little smaller. And even to make it look better, we could even pull it a little bit smaller so the Sunoco portion is inside the decals that we have on there. We can turn that wire off. And there's our Sunoco logo on the hood. So let's go ahead and export this out to the car, and we'll go see what it looks like. Control R, and there's our Sunoco logo. We may want a different angle on the hood. Let's see. There we go. There's a little different angle. Pull it down so you can see it a little better. So there you go, Sunoco on the hood. Now you can see the shape of the hood on this Camaro. There's a little bump in the middle that kind of cuts off the S and the O. So if you want, you can make it a little smaller so it fits in there a little better, which is why you preview. You always preview on your car. So use your scaling tool still. You can pull it back a little more, scale it, export it out to the car, and take a peek. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. We'll do a rear chase camera here. And yeah, that looks pretty solid on there, Sunoco. There's even room down here for another set of logos if you wanted to use a secondary logo or put something in for your race team or something. You can put it in there. You've also got your flaps you could put things on. You got a little bit here in the front. You got plenty of room on this particular car and design to get things on the car itself. All right, let's go back to GIMP and let's put this logo a couple other places. So we've got our Sunoco logo. It looks like it's a good logo. It looks clean. And we'll go ahead and duplicate it. This down here, there's buttons down at the bottom of your mode section where you can see everything. You see all your layers. And this is your layers tab. And you can go down here where the Sunoco logo is. And down at the bottom, there's these little tools you can use. This one right here is a duplicate tool. It's got kind of a rectangle on top of a rectangle. So you hit that and it makes a copy of the Sunoco logo. This is where you want to be precise. So this is Sunoco, but it's not just the Sunoco logo. This one's Sunoco on the hood. Okay, this is the one we just made, and this is the one we're going to now move. So go to your move tool. Don't try to move it with the scaling tool at this point. But grab your move tool, put it down here. Let's go rear quarter panel with this one. We're going to rotate it. This is your rotation tool again. What I do on a rotation tool, because I like to have this little box up here to help me, I will start spinning it. I know what I want it to be. I want it to be 90 degrees because that's your quarter turn. So at that point, you bring up your tool, you type in your 90, it corrects it for you over here. You hit rotate, and now it rotates it for you the 90 degrees. Now you can go to your scale tool and make it fit in the spot. Also, two ways to use a scale tool. You can link it like it is here with this little lock, like a chain, or you can unlink it. When you unlink it, you can stretch it. Okay, I'm going to do that and just show you what it does. So you can stretch the Sunoco logo. Probably not what you want to do, but you can hit reset and it'll put it back where it was. And sometimes there are cases where you want to stretch something. It just depends on what you're doing. So let's go ahead and make this fit a little better in the space. You also have to watch the other side. You have to remember you're doing this for both sides. And if you remember from watching all those days in NASCAR, there's a fuel filler over here. So you got to make sure it's low enough that it's not going to be cut off by the fuel filler. All right, drop the wire on just for a second to make sure we're actually on the fender and not off. So it looks like we're good there. And now we're going to duplicate this one, but this one we're going to call Sunoco rear quarter panel passenger side. Okay, and we're going to duplicate that. And we're going to call this one rear quarter panel driver side. We're going to move it over to the other side of the car. Grab your move tool. Make sure you grab the one on top, leaving the other one there. Pull it over here on this side. And I did something wrong, so I'm going to edit, undo, move, edit, undo, move. Now, you want to put it somewhere it's not on the screen. That's okay. The other thing you really want to do is you want to make sure the Sunoco logo itself is in the same spot, front to back to the car. So one of the ways you can do that is you can start to move this, and when you get close, it'll allow you to push it. So you push it a little bit. But then you hold down the control key, and it puts it in line with the other one. You hold control, and it'll put it right there in line for you. So it kind of lines it up. It's like a self-aligning tool with the logo that's on the other side of the car. So now it's in straight line with that one. It's not that you're going to be, somebody's going to be going by with a magnifying glass checking this out, but I like them to at least be close. I'm not a perfectionist. I don't do all of them exact, but I like them fairly close. 180 degrees is double 90, flipping it around 180 so it's correct side up. We'll go ahead and export this out to the car, see what it looks like. And it's really that easy to put logos on your car. Control R. And there's a Sunoco logo on the hood and on the tail. You can also do one on the rear bumper or back of the car. There's plenty of room here for another logo. So I'm going to take the passenger side because it's already right side up. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to call this one tail because that's where it is. And I'm going to move it to the tail of the car. You just kind of hold it up here at the top, it'll move. Once you get to the top, you go there. This one you're probably going to want to get the center. That's really close on the center. It looks good here, but how's it going to look on that car that is not as flat as this picture is? So we'll go and take a look and see how it looks on the car. We'll do a chase camera and Control R. And you can see it's kind of cut off. It's a little bit too big for the space. So go to our scale tool, pull that down a little bit, pull it up a little bit, and we'll send it back out again. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, that actually looks pretty good. So, wow, those look terrible. Those numbers are not good on there. I have to figure out what's going on with that. That's a sim stamp number too, so Might just need to go in and take that blue off of there so it doesn't try to change that blue on the sim stamp number. But again, just little things to watch out for. But that is putting logos on. Let's do one more quick thing here. We did rotation tool. We did crop to layer. Let's talk a little bit about the pre-made stuff, the pre-made layers. I always stick all my pre-made layers in a pre-mades folder, which is this folder right here. It's got car mandatory, car decal. Car decal is those little decals that are put on your car from iRacing. There's a K&N filters, 3M. There's a Sunoco logo down here. And if you turn those off, you turn the hide button on, you won't be able to see them. Sometimes you want some of those on there, but you don't want others on there. Like maybe you don't want the NASCAR Cup Series on there, like on the actual hood, on the banner here. And we could go through a whole section on how to work with banners, but I'm just going to use this one as an example. Car decal. You got Cup Series on here. We maybe want to put our own race team or something up there. Contingencies that your league gives you, something like that. So what you can do is you can go to the car decal, you grab your little eraser tool, and then you erase that section that you don't want. Okay, you're just removing that part of that layer. Okay, you have to make sure you're highlighted on the layer, otherwise it will not work. If you're highlighted on tape and you try to erase a part of another layer, it won't do anything. See, I'm buttoned down here trying to erase Cup Series. Won't go away because I'm not highlighted on. I'm highlighted on tape. Okay, so then you undo item invisibility. Okay, so it didn't actually even try to erase because I was on the wrong area. All right, so now we've gotten rid of that. Now we can take, like, for example, we can open our own. Like I have a little race team that we race with called Old Guy Racing. And we can grab the text of Old Guy Racing. And it's already pre-made. It's kind of like a logo. And one thing, like I always say, you go to the layer, crop to content. It makes it so you're only working in that area when you want to work in. We'll go and move it down here. We'll rotate it 90 degrees. This happens to be minus 90 because you're turning it to the left. And then I go to my scale tool. I'm going to put this inside that space. Okay. So am I in the center? Don't know exactly, but I can scale it, set it there. Race. Turn on the wire. Grab my tool again. And there's my center line. I was pretty close, but not quite. So we'll put it right in the middle. Scale. Turn the wire back off. Make sure nothing's selected. We'll send that back out to the car. We'll do a TV1 and we'll take a look at what we did. Okay, so now Old Guy Racing is on the hood, on the banner. Working with the pre-mades, it's sometimes on the pre-mades, like let's go to car mandatory, for example. And let's say you wanted to change something in here. Sometimes iRacing lets you, sometimes they don't. So I can't tell you everything they're going to let you do. But if I go in here with my eraser tool, and I try to wipe out one of these Chevy logos, it actually works because I must have already done this. But what they'll do sometimes is you go to the properties, edit layer attributes, and they'll lock the alpha, okay? Which means you can't erase anything. See, I've got my little circle with the X on it. I'm on car mandatory. I know that Chevy emblem is part of it, but I am not allowed to erase it. I can try all I want, but you see it just kind of hangs and hooks. And then your tool doesn't even try. So when you run into that, you're trying to erase something and it doesn't work, right click, go to edit layer attributes, look for this lock alpha, unlock that, and then you can go ahead and erase the pieces that they don't want you to erase. I'm going to leave them on there. Chevy fan anyway, but don't need to get rid of them right now. But that is how you put logos on, and that's also how you work with these little pre-mades. And there's a bunch of these pre-mades. There's the actual whole windshield banner if you want to change the color of it. Some cars have an entire banner you can work with. Some race teams use, or race leagues use contingencies where they want you to put certain stickers on. That's how you get rid of the ones and get them out of the way. Like if you need to get rid of this Cup Series one to put something on from your league, you just highlight car detail and just get rid of it. And you see it leaves the pattern and the lines behind if you've done them right. They're right there. So when you put the new ones on, you won't have gaps or holes or blocks. Also helps with doing spec layers, spec maps, by not having chunks of things in the way or out of the way, leaving holes and gaps in your design. So that's about it for today. That's working with layers, working with logos and pre-mades. Next up for our series, we're going to get into some lettering, using some different types of letters, some of the issues I've run into with letters and what happens, and then we're going to do a little bit of fun with different kinds of patterns or different images that I've found and how to use those to fill in a space. Then I'm going to go over real quick in the next lesson about how to use the paths tool. It's great for making curves and pinstripes, but it's also a complex tool. So we might not get into it too deep. If you guys want a second video after video number 4 to go into more of that, we'll give you that option. Maybe I'll throw one of those up there. I don't use it too much. I usually just work with the patterns that we have. There's plenty of them, and there's lots and lots of different paints you can do. So you can have a nice looking car out there. So all right, everybody, it's nice working with you today. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day and keep the wheels on the bottom.